Hello there! Welcome to this new guide where we're going to be testing smoothness. I think smoothness is going to be a bit of a hidden gem in this game, honestly, but I'm still going to test it because it is needed to see what you can expect in terms of lap times gained and also in terms of potential, flexibility for strategy. The way we're going to do this is actually incredibly simple. We have taken Verstappen here, we've taken Paris, and we have modified their stats. Again, the editor will be in the description. You'll find it in the Reddit thread, and there's instructions there on how to install it. We basically use that editor to, as I said, give Verstappen 99 everything. We basically done the same with Paris, except that we've given him 79 smoothness. And the reason why I've chosen to give him 99 in everything for both of them is because you can't do 100 in the editor. That's number one. But number two is very simple. We do still have confidence that we need to be concerned about for this test. We're basically going to be testing them in race spec, so it might be a little bit, inconsistent, uncertain, but I'll be doing a few runs to test things out. Now, the idea is that we're going to be testing them, as I said, in different conditions. Well, not really conditions, with different strategies to just see how much of extra time gain it is to have that extra smoothness. And we'll also do a little bit of a, talking a little bit at the end there on the other applications that the smoothness, the smoothness advantage would have. So with that in mind, we're just going to jump straight into the racer at Bahrain, and we'll see if we can figure out just how much of an advantage 20 points of smoothness really is. All right, as you can see, we have set everything up here. We are ready for the race itself, and basically the cars are identical in terms of components. The setups are both at 100%, and they both basically had the same starting point, although as you can see, Paris has a little bit less confidence, but generally that shouldn't have an effect here because, well, these stats don't go over 100, so they should be as equal as is possible to make them. Now, to test smoothness, I'm actually planning two run plans. We're going to be doing the one on the left for both drivers here. Basically this one, we will be doing the first stint, normal, second stint, aggressive, and the third stint, attack. This is going to be basically the first test. We're going to be using both of them on this strategy, and we'll see if the smoothness gives any sort of advantage. Now, we are going to be spending probably the first 2 or 3 laps, maybe even 4 or 5, to just separate our cars from the other cars on track. And we are also going to be trying to create about a 3-second window to Paris behind. Verstappen has high smoothness, he'll be running in front. And we'll try to establish, as I said, about a 3-second window. It might be a little bit too short, but we'll have them run outside of the DRS of each other, basically so we can get accurate numbers of what we can expect from smoothness. Because let's face it, you're going to be trying to pull away from other drivers. And that is going to be the idea. This is going to be the first run. As I said, we'll do it a couple of times just to see if the numbers do match. The second run is going to be what you see on Paris here, where we're just going to go full attack for all 3 stints. And that is basically more suited to, as I said, the higher smoothness. For Paris here, we might need to tune him down a little bit to aggressive to make it to this one. Tune him down to aggressive to make it to this one. But generally, that should give you a good idea too on how much more effective smoothness is, because this is a strategy that is going to the absolute limit. And as I said, it should favor smoothness a little bit more. So I would assume that we'll see a bit of a bigger gap for this one. Also, smoothness has another benefit here. If you look at their fuel, I haven't actually touched the fuel here at all. So the weight doesn't seem to have a factor in this. So basically, the higher your smoothness is, excuse me, the higher your smoothness is, the less fuel you actually need to bring into a race. So that is an added benefit. And I've actually already done the tests. I already know the numbers, but I'm just explaining it because it takes a lot of time. I have reset the race a few times because of safety cars and other things that cause basically uncertainties, discrepancies. Completed three races on this one. Completed about 3 races on this one too. Technically 4, but there was a safety car in the last few laps, so it's a little bit inaccurate. But generally, I was seeing the same numbers. So let's jump into the races here, and we'll have a look at how things were looking at the end of the final lap. Here we're in with the first run. As you can see, the difference is about 12 seconds. For this one, we established about 2.8 gap. So basically, Verstappen has, over the course of these 2 stints, gained almost 10 seconds. And as you can see here, for this first stint, he has a lot more to go on. Second stint too has a lot more to go on. And third stint, even if we're running attack, we can't really go all out. For Perez, on the first stint, he had basically less left in the tires, which isn't surprising. For For the second stint here, it was basically close to the limit. And for the third stint here, it followed what we expected. But we had to kind of slow him down there a little bit at the end. Now, as I said here, the gains here is by them running the same strategies. Verstappen could have run this way more aggressively. And as I said, I did 3 races. This is basically the middle ground. On the first race, well, basically these different race, Verstappen had about a 9-second gap to Paris that he had gotten. And on the worst, it was about a 12-second gap. So basically, running same strategies where you don't actually take advantage of the extra smoothness that Verstappen has. Over the course of a full race here, he gained between 9 to 12 seconds on the same strategy, which basically translates to about 10.5 to 2 tenths per lap. But again, it's the flexibility does help there. But again, this is if you run inefficient strategies, basically. Perez could, of course, still push a little bit more on the second stint, but he basically couldn't on the first stint, but he basically couldn't on the second one. And next day, we're going to jump to actually the race that represents the mid-pack for when we go full attack. And we'll have a look here, because this is also pretty interesting. So, we're at the end here. In this race, we've gone full attack the entire way for Verstappen. As you can see, he burnt out the tires here, burnt out tires here. But you can also see that by going full attack, the discrepancy here in terms of expected tire wear to actual tire wear is less than for here. So basically, the harder tire you go on, the more effect smoothness will have in maintaining that tire by the looks of things. So if we were going to go into hard, we'd probably be seeing even more of the tire left, so to speak. In terms of the gap here, once again, Perez was given about 3 seconds. So in this one, Verstappen has basically gained about 15 to 16 seconds. On the slowest one, he was about 13.5 seconds gained, but there was a lot of backmarker shenanigans there. Verstappen, I think, lost a lot there, so it's not really representative. On the fastest one, he's basically just an extra second ahead again. So basically about 13 to 17 seconds in terms of a discrepancy. Well, in terms of what you can expect here when they're all going full attack. We did, however, for these laps here, go aggressive. I did kind of match it up with Perez, but at the same time, we probably didn't need to for Verstappen. So it's a bit of an interesting there with tire wear, that it actually is more effective to run harder compounds, but that's actually what you'd expect. Same here for Perez, because that little aggressiveness is why he has a little bit more to go on, but he did actually burn the harder tire a little bit more than expected. So again, it is kind of hard to test. It might be a little bit inaccurate, but if both drivers are pushing to the absolute fullest, which is basically what we did with this one, you can expect 20 points of smoothness to translate into basically 2.5 to 3 tenths of lap time gained. And considering that you can also, as I said, have way more flexibility in your strategy choice, also do play into smoothness. Of course, there are tracks where degradation is higher. So honestly, I'd say smoothness probably gonna trump braking. In just terms of pure lap time, they're probably about equal. But the flexibility that smoothness gives you is, incredibly valuable for being able to attack. And for tracks where you are going to be running, say, medium, hard, you're probably going to see even more of a discrepancy. Basically, I would assume that Verstappen is going to have an even bigger gap to Perez as a result of that. But again, they're running the exact same stats. They're running, for the most part, the same strategy. Well, they were running the exact same strategy with the added addition here of this 3 laps on aggressive. So honestly, I'd say smoothness is definitely worth it to focus on this year. Braking is still also very good. But smoothness is a hidden gem that will actually just allow you to straight up ignore the new tire mechanics here with tire heating. So it's a bit of an interesting one. Let me know what you think. Honestly, if you have any ideas on how we can test this, I'd be open to hearing them. But yeah, this is basically how I would go ahead and test this. And as I said, going to the limit, 20 points of smoothness will give you 2.5 to about 3 tenths lap time advantage compared to having less. And of course, as I said, you have more flexibility in your strategies. Hope this video has helped you. Hope to see you around next time. If it has been a help, please help me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you around next time. Bye bye.